LPT. Single people at work are often expected to pick up the slack, with no extra remuneration, when their colleagues set good limits because they have families. It's okay to have a life and have boundaries with your job to spend time doing things other than being with kids or a partner. It's also okay to expect to be compensated for the extra work, if you do it.
I'm divorced and have no life, but I'm sure as not going to work extra if I'm not paid for it.
It took a while for me to realize I don't owe my bosses anything other than the hours I'm paid for. I had a job that had me coming in early, staying late, sometimes till very late at night, and I felt that since my boss was kinda my friend too, I owed it to him. Even when I got paid overtime, it took me a long time to realize that that bonus didn't make up for the lost time with my friends and family. The guys at my current job understand that at least.
I always volunteer to work around holiday time so that my coworkers with families can take time off. Then in the rest of the year everyone is not only cool with me taking a long weekend or week-long vacation, they're pressuring me to do so since it seems like I'm always when everyone else in your industry is taking time off for holidays. You don't have to do a lot. I read all the published Song of Ice and Fire books at my desk between an Xmas and New Year's week. Still handled the customer stuff and made a performance tracking metric for our consultants. It practically was a vacation in all but name.
I had a guy the first went to bat for to get a job at a place try to convince my boss at the next round of layoffs that it should be me because he doesn't have.
Can you work late this weekend? Sorry, I can't. I have a personal commitment that I can't miss. Oh, what is it? It's personal.
All my coworkers are like 30 to 50, so they're married and have kids. They literally just drop a, "gonna pick my kids up," at 2 p.m. and log off the rest of the day.
I would rephrase and say that it is essential to demand additional compensation, whether pay or time off, in exchange for the extra work so that you don't set yourself up to be taken advantage of again.
Oh man, early in my career one supervisor asked me to work Xmas, in addition to my allotted annual holiday. I said no. Why would you ask? He said, well, you're the only one without kids. Xmas is really a kid's holiday. I was like, MF, I still have a family. I still have people I like to see on holidays.
They can expect what they want. If it's not in contract, there's no reason to warrant those expectations.
Even having just a partner and no kids, people are expected to pick up the slack.
Having children taught me how to set boundaries. I wish someone would have taught me that before. I frequently stand up for my colleagues at work to take sick days, to take a day off for stress, to not work overtime or late at night because that's how I think work should be. In return, I expect no when childcare fails or there's a kid sick.
42 years old and childless. I've always lived by this rule. Work is not your life.
In my workplace, single people aren't expected to any more than people with families. But my single staffers often do sign up for Sweet OT more because they have the time and like the extra money.
It is genuinely hard for me to do this because I have no kids, but I just remind myself, your choice to not have kids shouldn't be less than another's choice to have.
A girl at a restaurant asked me to cover her shift one time because it was her kid's birthday. Sorry, how long have you known it was your kid's birthday? It's the same day every year.
I faked a relationship just for easy excuses why I can't take someone else's, I can't, the in-laws are coming, etc.
You know what, this is such a good point. I have a few people at work with young families and they absolutely expect anyone without kids to pick up the slack. I understand they have family obligations, but if we're all paid the same, it's your responsibility as an adult to do the work required of the job. After all, it was your choice, presumably, to have kids. I just don't see it as fair to have the ability to say no to things at work and for it to be part of the work culture for them to do that at the expense of others.
Same. I also have never smoked, but will absolutely take my non-smoking break if smokers get a break.
If you're good at something, never do it for free. Joker.
I don't know why so many of my colleagues work extra hours at night and on weekends. None of them put in OT for it since it needs to be approved by like 3 people in our company and 2 people from whatever client we're working in at that time. Come 5:30 p.m. on Thursdays until 7:30 a.m. on Mondays. I don't even let work cross my mind.
I think OP is saying more so that the single people with no kids are disproportionately targeted to be required to work more when people with children have to take off time for the child. I'm child-free by choice, and it's really true. We're the first ones they call when a child gets sick, and made to feel bad if we deny them. Oh, but their child is sick. Not my problem. I didn't decide to nut in someone.
Nobody said you were not getting paid, but single people tend to be expected to work, for instance, Christmas and Easter, while those with families have time off.
It took me 3 years to realize going above and beyond did nothing but get my manager departments and figured out how fast I need to work to get 100% and give them exactly 80 to 85% on the daily. I've gotten some pushback at first because they know how fast I am able to work, but I get paid to do my job, and that's all I get paid till 6. I'm gone at 6.
I am a manager and have a pretty good relationship with all my employees. I feel I sometimes get a little more out of them because we're friendly and I cut them slack on some stuff. That said, I'll always advocate for workers' rights with them. We're all hourly associates in the same boat at the end of the day. If you feel you're not making enough, I'll do whatever I can to get you a bump in pay. I can see what they're all making and it's not enough. I don't think my pay is either, and told them what they need to do to get an increase. I don't control it. One associate has been with us for 4 years, and I basically told him that given our company policies, his best bet is to apply to a similar job elsewhere and he'll make more.
Literally the only holiday I care about is Labor Day. I will work Christmas Day and 4th of July, just give me LD off. So that's usually not a problem for day of our state fair, which I always go. I worked LD in 2020, cause there was no fair, but told my coworkers that was definitely a one-time thing.
Yes, this is what I do. And then I take a vacation 1 month after people get back. From only do I get more done while they're gone, I enjoy the peace, and it's like I get 2 spelling.
I don't work with you and still appreciate you.
He doesn't have kids, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't have a mortgage, so what exactly does he need money for? He can basically survive without a job.
Hope you were able to get good money for that knife you pulled out of your back.
I would have countered with, that's a good point. My attendance is better because I don't have kids.
Can you work late this weekend? Sorry, I can't. I have a personal commitment that I can't. What is it? It's.
I used to make excuses why I couldn't work Saturday morning. Finally just started saying I couldn't with no explanation.
Same, I don't have kids, and actually appreciate having an employer that allows flexibility for things like that. Like if I have an my dishwasher is leaking and I have to deal with it this afternoon moment, I know it's not a big deal to them for me to take the time I need to get it handled. But with the non-emergency kid issues, I don't quite get it. You know your kid has a soccer game on Wednesday that you want to be able to watch, so you have to knock off at 3:30. Okay, fine, handle it like any other PTO situation. Let your colleagues know reasonably in advance and adhere to what anyone else would have to do if they had to do a doctor's appointment or weekday errand.
See, that's that. Like I have a bunch of kids, but unless one is currently on their way to the hospital, or has to be picked up from school due to illness, I am giving my employer notice. For kid doc APPTS, I have had colleagues do everything they can to pick up slack if there is something wrong with the little ones, but I'll be damned if I don't do my best to reciprocate, like take Fridays in the office now that folks can WFH so others can stay home, or come in early if they need me, etc. I don't think there's anything wrong with humans trying to help other humans with kids, per se, but it's the entitlement that gets me. I chose to have the kids, now it's on me to handle that life, not anyone else's burden to bear.
I would rephrase that to say, drop hints that you want to keep your kids' life private. You don't have kids.
I never understood this logic. Someone's kid, aren't you?
The problem I run into is people comment when I'm 5 minutes late, but no one says when my coworkers leave for an hour to pick their kids up, or to go to appointments constantly, or whatever.
It is tough to explain because, I need to go home and take care of my kids, does sound better than, I'm going to go home and get high and play some Switch, even though you're equally entitled to. Lesson I learned is unless you're close with your coworkers, you really don't need to explain yourself. I was working late one night and told a higher up that I needed to go home for an hour, at 7 p.m., and take care of my dog, but I'd be back after that to finish up. Apparently he wrote an angry email to my boss about not prioritizing work, but my boss was nice about it, but basically said, just say what you need and don't explain. Ever since then I've just said, I need to leave, and it works way better.
It's a very subtle expectation. It's not that literally say, you have no kids, you can work late to finish this project, it's that the people with kids have a socially acceptable excuse. Of course, the biggest issue is workplace culture and all the underpaying and short staffing that companies pull, but for the immediate future on my team, it's more about the subtleties of how people rank priorities.